Hi, my name is Bethany Stahl. I'm a full-time author and illustrator, and today we are going to be talking about editors and what advice you should actually take from them and what advice you should ignore. So before we get started, I just want to say if you are looking for more in-depth behind-the-scenes tips, tricks, documents, and more, or you'd like to have a one-on-one conversation with me and ask me questions, go over to patreon.com/Bethany Stahl, where you will be able to do that. So editors, the people we love and need, but also I feel like a lot of us get a little bit of a grudge against them because they're the ones picking apart our beloved work. But you have to remember, editors are only there to help you. And I've said this before, and I will continue to say it, that editors are there for you. They are not there to make you feel bad. They are not there to tear your work apart and change it into something else. They are there to make your work as polished as possible so you have the best product available. In saying that, editors are also human, and they may make mistakes, they may miss something, so they are also not perfect, just like we are not perfect, okay? So don't think that if you hire an editor, your manuscript is going to be completely perfect and nobody can ever complain about anything in it ever, because that's just not true. So let's look at the different types of editing, and we're going to talk about what you should take from the editors at each point. Now, before diving into this, I do want to say this is purely my opinion and purely how I personally go about dealing with critique and feedback. This may be completely different for you, so of course this is what I do, but this is not necessarily what you have to do. So first, you may be getting a developmental critique. So a developmental critique is somebody who is going to read through your entire story and fix big issue problems. So for children's books, this may be something like making sure the problem is addressed, making sure the lesson may be clear, making sure the storyline does cover what you want to in such a short period of time, and making sure all those little dots connect. So I know with children's books, we're working with a very small word count, and with that small word count, we have to tell an entire story in that period of time. So developmental editors are typically great with helping figure out big picture problems. Now, this being said, developmental editing is one of the most opinionated forms of editing. That means this isn't necessarily advice that is following any grammatical rules, any set in stone rules. This is more knowledge of stories and, this is what it should be. That being said, when I get developmental critiques back, I always take them with a little bit of a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, you know your story best. Is it still worth paying for a developmental critique? Absolutely. For other examples, I'm working on a novel right now, and with my novel, I did a developmental critique, and there are big issues that I missed, such as not going into enough detail because I know how the world works in my head, but I may not have said that on paper. So the problems get bigger, and that's what they're really there to help. In saying that, I think I take about 95% of the advice from developmental critiques. And I say about 95% because there are some that I don't agree with. So sometimes I'll get a critique about changing something in particular. So for example, with Save the Sharks, I have Liam, who is a scuba diver, and one of my developmental editors did not like that a child was a scuba diver, but believe it or not, children can actually become scuba certified, and as long as they're with an adult, they can go. So of course there's an age limit on that, but Liam is at the very bottom of that age limit, so realistically he absolutely could be a scuba diver. So this is something that I felt was not necessary to change. But the developmental editor suggested, no, you change it. And Save the Sharks has done really well. Nobody's complained that there's a little boy who's a scuba diver. At the same time, my Save the Earth series, well based on real world problems, is fiction. So I have mermaids. Mermaids don't exist in real life. So when an editor says something like, ooh, animals don't talk or mermaids don't exist, I don't worry about that because they do in my world. So that is something to where you have to take it and consider it. Was that a fair argument to make? Absolutely. There are going to be people who are concerned about that. And that's a fair statement to make. Am I mad that they did that? No. Am I going to take the advice? No. So there's other times to where they give great advice, or the problems I present, they want to reorder them because they make more sense in a different order. Or maybe I didn't elaborate on something, especially when I get into in-depth world building in novels or even science-y in my children's books. Sometimes I will reference something that the audience reading may not have knowledge of. So because I come from a really heavy science background, sometimes I might forget that not everybody understands basic concepts in science. Whereas in world building and fantasy, I will just go off about something, that I know because I am a nerd and love fantasy, but maybe new readers to fantasy may not understand, the specifics of a longsword. So things of that sort. Yeah, I'm a nerd, it's true. You guys are going to find out when that book publishes. So the second phase of editing that you are going to want to look at is line editing. Sometimes it's called copy editing. Sometimes it's called content editing. So there's a bunch of different names for this middle section of editing. But basically what it is they are going line by line of your story and fixing it for grammatical issues. This is something that if you do want to skip developmental editing, you absolutely do not want to skip this middle section of content editing. So this is where they are going to really narrow down any grammatical problems, fix up sentence structure, and this is going to be all the editing by the rules. This isn't as much going to be opinion based. I do sometimes, however, find opinions within content editing, so I would say I take about 98% of the advice in the content editing stage. There have been times that I've had editors suggest me to change a sentence to say whilst, and that's not a word that I would use in a children's book. So I wouldn't agree with that. Or there's editors who have suggested, different sentence structures or things of that sort, to where if they are suggesting something a little bit strange that I don't want to use, I'm just going to rewrite the sentence and break it down a little bit more basic instead. That way I can avoid using some of those things. So was the editor wrong? No, not necessarily, but I didn't want to take their advice and write it that way. I'd rather just break it down a little bit more simpler and break down those areas where these weird problems are coming up. So that being said, not every suggestion from an editor you have to take. If they recommend you rewrite your sentence and they give you an example of how they would rewrite the sentence, that doesn't mean you have to take that exact sentence and put it in there. You can do a mashup of something in between. So, of course, while you can just take their sentence and put it in there, you don't have to. So, at any point of this editing process, if you have questions, reach out to your editor. If you don't understand something about why they suggested to change this wording, or why they felt like this may need to be removed, or why this may need to be added, reach out to them and ask, what made you say this, if they didn't say that in your markup. So they, again, are your friends, you are hiring them, and they're here to help you. Obviously, they want to do a good job, so don't be mad if you don't agree. You can always ask or politely ignore it. It's completely up to you. The last step of editing is going to be proofreading, and this is, again, a step I highly recommend. This is a step I absolutely am doing for my novel, but this is also a step that even for my children's books that are only a few pages long, I absolutely recommend proofreading, because I promise you, I don't think there's been but 3 books that I have published without errors. And it happens, whether it's a double space in between a sentence, or a missing period, or a misspelled word somehow got through to the very end. Make sure you proofread on your own really well, and we are typically biased to our stories, so I would always recommend giving it to an editor or even a proofreading friend who will do proofreading for your book to make sure that everything is in tip-top shape. So absolutely do that, and with proofreading, take 100% of the critique. If they're finding an error, you've got to fix it. So that being said, with editors, you will want to take their advice as much as you can. I know some of it can make you upset. Some of it may be like, hey, no, I love this. Why are you suggesting I change it? So if you are feeling any sort of hostility or aggression when you get back your manuscript, set it aside, give it a day, breathe, and reread it. And I even do this myself. I will typically read over edits, I would say at least 3 to 5 times before I decide if I want to act on it or not, especially in the developmental stage. It's always good to look at it with fresh eyes and release that tension and release that protection you feel over your book. And really focus on, well, I know they want me to change this aspect, and while I don't want to, I understand why they're asking me because my reader's confused. So should I change it so my readers aren't confused? Yes. So even if at first you don't agree, don't delete the edits, just give it some time to breathe, revisit it. And again, if there is something you truly don't understand why they said it, or you don't understand the reasoning, reach out to your editor and ask. So I hope this has helped with understanding edits and really understanding the feedback and developing your own style of accepting advice and critiques and how to integrate their suggestions into your work. So again, I do accept a majority of the feedback I get from edits, but at the end of the day, you know your story best, and I love the example with Liam and the scuba diving aspect. If you absolutely know this is a must for my story, you stick with it. And you know what? It works out for me. It can work out for you, but make sure you have an argument of why you're sticking to that. Is it already a truth within your series? Is it a truth within life and maybe the editor just isn't experienced in that area? Is it a truth that you know? I've had that happen before with editors as well. I'll mention a science term or an ecosystem they may not be familiar with, and I've been told, hey, this ecosystem does not exist, and it does. So don't be afraid to accept what you know to be true and take their advice. That doesn't make them a bad editor. That doesn't make them bad people. They're giving the suggestions that are based. And with editors who told me, hey, this ecosystem doesn't exist, what that tells me is most people will probably not know the ecosystem I mentioned exists. So on my part, I need to better explain that. Whereas I'm not going to go, you're wrong, it exists. Instead, I'm like, you know what, that's great feedback, because if they don't realize this ecosystem exists in our world, then there's a problem and I need to address what this ecosystem is. So always take it positively. The critiques are not there to hurt you, they're there to help you. So I hope this video has helped. If it has, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Comment below your favorite thing about editors. My favorite thing about editors is that they save my life. I wouldn't be a writer without editors because, yeah, they just make my work so much better. So I definitely love editors, and this video is in no way, shape, or form talking bad about editors. They are great, they are amazing, and you just have to be aware with the feedback and always know they're suggesting things for the best. They're making their best suggestions, they're doing the best they can, and yeah, I love editors. They help immensely. So thank you. If you've edited any of my books, there's a whole team of you, so thank you. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye!